Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation Magazine. This is what it used to look like. It's actually the last issue I printed. I grabbed this one. Uh, August of 2021, I had Mike Guy, the Vice President of Operations Services for White Castle Systems. If you don't know what they are, there's a little like square hamburgers with a bunch of onions on them. And after probably a night of drinking, you hit that place about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and you get a bag of 16 of them. You all know what I'm talking about out there. Crystal, White Castle. Oh, yeah, I listen, you know. But anyway, this was their biggest facility that they ever built, and I got the scoop on it. So it was great for Mike to grace the cover. Thank you so much. But I always like holding the magazine because I'm digital now. But let's see where I was at. Ooh, I was in Memphis, doing some site visit. And I was in Graceland, and I hadn't been in Memphis for about 15 years. And it used to be Elvis's house. You can go across the street to the souvenir shop, and they had the plane over there. That's it. If you haven't been in Memphis in a long time, it's unbelievable what they've built out there. They built an amphitheater, I think 15,000 people. They have about 4 or 5 buildings of Elvis's clothes, all of his cars. They have a rock and roll building. They've got all sorts of Kiss, all sorts of stuff. And you can spend days out there. That's all I'll say. But anyway, this was the wall. This wall was so tall. I mean, it had to be 3 stories tall of all of his gold records and stuff. And anyway, but we did Beale Street. I stayed right downtown. We did BB King's, and it was a great weekend. And went to Sun City Records where they recorded everything. Went to Martin Luther King Memorial, and it was great weather. We did it in September, and it was an awesome event. But if you haven't been to Memphis in a long time, they say it's a really, yeah. I think it was the highest crime rated, in the country, and but you know what? I'm from Philadelphia. I get on the subway. What can I say? But I thought it was a beautiful city, and I right on the river. It was an awesome time. But I don't miss the printer. I don't miss the post office. It's been an amazing ride going digital. I want to thank every one of you out there that find us on the web and consume our content. I couldn't have done it without you. It's been an amazing transformation from print face to face to digital, and you're all gold in my eyes. And I really appreciate you guys finding us. Happy TGIF to everybody. It is September 26th, 2025. Just about finishing out the third month of Q3, and we're over. And then it's the sprint to the finish. Q4, Halloween, Thanksgiving, the holidays, New Year's, and then 2026. And it's an amazing time to be alive. For those of you who know, I was building my house all last year, so I've been in here for about 3 months. This is nature behind me in the lake, and it's been tremendous. It is so peaceful up here on the lake. Lake life is completely different than living in it, and it blows me away of how quiet it is. But the tree frogs, oh my God, they are loud. I don't know what they're going to do in the winter. Maybe I don't know if they hibernate or whatever, but oh my God, they're all over our patio out here at night, man. It's amazing, but it is loud. It's like a symphony. Yeah, it's crazy. So today, I have a client right across the border in the great state of Alabama. His name is Stefano Daneri, and he's with Fleetio, and they have software that basically track and manage, your truck and car fleets that you have. And Stefano, say hello from Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, good to be here, David. And funny story, real quick about White Castle. I
Oh, I
learned this
know
about.
everybody had one, man. There you go.
I grew up in New Jersey. I know it's yeah, at least I knew it from the Northeast. But I learned that my wife's cousin's husband is in the White Castle Hall of Fame for eating at all of the White Castles, I think, in the state of New Jersey in like
Oh,
one day.
wow.
And he showed us like a certificate that they went to H court, like headquarters. And so a funny little anecdote that I haven't thought about in a while until you brought up White Castle. But yeah, over here in Birmingham, Alabama, where Fleetio's headquartered. My name's Stefano Daneri. I'm the fleet ecosystem strategist for Fleetio. We're a market-leading fleet management and maintenance management software that's helping fleets around the world. The majority of our customer base is going to be domestic here in North America. And we're really here to help any fleet across the industry improve how they track all their inventory, whether that's on highway vehicles, off highway equipment, small power tools that you need to manage each of your jobs and projects, really manage the day-to-day operations, handle their service, whether they manage a garage team with technicians, parts and inventory. They exclusively outsource their maintenance. We have a shop network with 100,000 shops that's both regional, local, and national providers to handle the entire maintenance portion there, digitize all those records and track their expenses and really report on their fleet's trends and health so that they can plan future projects profitably. And you really think about a fleet ecosystem strategist as an upfitter for our software. And we're really focused on making Fleetio stronger as it relates to the systems that you use that connect with Fleetio to power your maintenance operations and also the data that you need to make smarter decisions. So a little bit about my role at Fleetio, who we are. But if we peel it back to the origins, I grew up in Florida and spent a ton of my time working in our family business. We ran an amusement center, so it was roller skating, laser tag,
Oh,
whirly ball, if
cool.
you remember that. Um,
People.
Skee ball was there. I did work in our arcade for a little
Where
while.
did you go? You grew up in New Jersey?
So my mom is from New Jersey. I was born in Fort Lauderdale, and so split my time between New Jersey and Florida. And then my dad actually lives in Italy, so spent summers with him overseas. So definitely got a well-rounded
Yeah,
experience growing
you
up.
don't have a Jersey twang, and the Italian one, I'm not getting it, but I'm sure you have it. And I've lost my Philly twang. I still say water. People laugh at me, but
If you get me back with my family, then the New Jersey starts to come out. But
what
I
part
think
of
it's
Jersey
the
are you, north or south?
so I grew up in a town called Seaside Park, so it was
Oh
like
yeah,
East Coast, Central
yeah,
Jersey.
Parkway. What exit?
What was it? You're quizzing me.
I'm sorry.
I'll get back on the exit.
Yeah, it's probably in the hundreds. LBI.
It's around there. If you're
Yeah,
familiar with the show The Jersey Shore, that took place in a town
Asbury
called
Park.
Seaside
That.
Heights.
Hmm.
And I grew up in a town called Seaside Park. It's kind of where the locals live year round, and then you get the summer boardwalk town coming in.
Yeah,
But that's, a bit about my upbringing. Now I live in Birmingham, where I went to school. It's where I met my wife. We have two small kids. And prior to Fleetio, spent most of my career actually in the craft beer industry. And so I worked for Alabama's oldest and largest craft brewery called Good People Brewing Company and did just about every single job that you can imagine. I was a production brewer for a handful of years. I actually helped with a market expansion into the Atlanta and the entire state of Georgia. So maybe you had one of our products over the years. But I spent most of my time on the wholesale side. So managing
yeah.
a sales team, being an individual rep throughout a state, but really managing a multi-state distributor network and both kind of learning from my grandmother, who was this just lifelong entrepreneur and just like taught me what it meant to work hard and hustle. That really just gave me an appreciation for what it takes to scale a business in a competitive, like very tight margin industry. And I think that's ultimately what I like most about working for Fleetio is that we are just serving such hardworking companies that serve their communities and have projects that they need help with, and we can come in and help them ensure that their fleets are always available, they're well maintained, they can keep projects online, they can retain their staff, they can keep the reputation of their business, and you know that's what it's all about.
Yeah, one of my buds, he he just retired, but he was the lead mechanic on the for the Atlanta FBI
Oh wow.
and Secret Service, and he was working on all the the Fords and the SUVs and all that, and he just retired, but uh, he had security clearance and stuff, but he just said, yeah, man, they're all really good guys. You just hey man, can you get this done in my car? What's up? Something's rattling, man. It's driving me freaking crazy. Can you get that done, Charlie? Can you do that for me? And but no, he used to tell me some stories. He's like, oh yeah, man. Sometimes these cars, they get into a chase and they bring it in. They expect me to, I'm like, scrap it, get a new one. It's not gonna work. I can do it, but it's not gonna look good, or sound good. Better off getting a new one. And
And you bring
I
up a good point, which is, we work with company, like over 7,000 companies across industries. So that's transportation, logistics, the trade, so contractors, construction
Oh,
companies, business services, commercial services, um, municipal government fleets, and each one of those has a different replacement schedule based on the wear and tear of those. So, in the oil business, and construction in general, I mean, these trucks and even on highway, they're just being beaten up and their replacement cycles might be a lot sooner. But when you think about what police departments go through in particular on a given day, yeah, the life cycles on those, they do just get beat up. But it's interesting across industries, they're going to have set replacement cycles, but given the nature of their job, that could fluctuate a lot. But ultimately, it's the maintenance team's job to make sure that they can get it. So they got a spare, maybe you got to get a new truck, maybe you got to rent something, but ultimately getting turnarounds dialed in is the name of the game.
I run about 5 or 7 miles a day, and I always do my little video, my thought of the day. And um, anyway, I do this thing about you make sure your body gets 6 to 8 hours of rest every night. It's kind of like a car. You got to maintain it. You got to change the oil. You got to change the tires. Got to change the wipers. You got to maintain it. If you maintain your body, and you put your positive thoughts in there, but if you take care of your body and you give it the rest, it'll perform like a thoroughbred for you. You're gonna have to do a little maintenance along the way, just like you do with a house or anything else. You build a facility. A project manager one time he goes, "This is the construction cycle. I mean, this is the life cycle of a building, this finger. But the fingernail is just the construction. After construction is done, you turn the key over and the project's done, you go on to another one. But then the brand or the end user's got to run it. He's got to maintain it and give it the life cycle of that building until they're ready for maybe a new prototype or a refresh or whatever. But this is just the construction. This is where really the work goes. It's like preseason, you know,
Yeah.
and then the real season starts, and so uh, I look at and 7,000 companies and they all have different schedules. Oh my God, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, and we're here to help them standardize it. So, they're like you said, each fleet is going to be unique. And even if you're running the
That was a
same,
train.
uh,
Sorry.
no, if I was working from home, I'd probably be saying, "Oh, that's my dog going."
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, every single organization, whether they have dedicated software or not for managing their assets and obviously managing their maintenance programs, they need consistency. They need to make sure that they can rely on those units. And so, we work with fleets to help standardize that. So there are ways for them to bulk assign, OEM specific service programs so that they know every single make and model in their fleet is going to have the same schedule for 6,000 mile or 6,000 miles, 6 months, and then they can customize it from there. But really, just providing fleets with the flexibility, like you said, given the wear and tear, you could work off of an OEM schedule, but given the nature of how you run your vehicles, you might need to flex up, you might need to flex down. But having something that you can rely on that says, hey, your reminder is coming up soon. You need to start planning resources. You might need to get a spare. You might need to have an additional operator on hand to deliver that. So yeah, it's all about consistency and reliability in this industry, and that's the name of the game.
My son, he's an A&P. He's got his FAA license for mechanic. Anyway, he just moved down to Florida to Gulfstream, and anyway, he's an F-150, and he was living in Dallas. He came up to hang, drop some stuff at the house, and he was going to drive down. Anyway, he had a little rattle in his and he didn't know what it was, so we took it to our master mechanic, and he said it was a cam phaser. It had something to do with the timing on the engine and so forth. And it was like an $8,000 or $9,000 job,
Hmm.
in his, it was a 2018. Anyway, so he went to the dealer, found a truck that he liked, another F-150. He was going to buy it. And then, the dog and pony show at the dealership, the finance manager tried to upsell him, and he didn't want to get upsold.
Hmm.
So he walked. And then, but his truck was already taken apart. The cab was off, the engine was out. I saw pictures, because the guy was sending me, "Hey man, we're getting there." Anyway, so I told him, and he went, and he wanted a V8 in it, and he's got the one engine down with the turbo on it. Anyway, uh, he drives down to Florida, and my wife drove it over to Hilton Head. and that's where mom lives. And he was going through training last week at Gulfstream. That's where their headquarters are.
Mhm.
Anyway, Sunday he started his drive, and the truck went from here to Savannah for 4 to 5 hours,
Yeah.
depending on where you're going, going to Hilton Head. And then, it was turned off and on, I don't know, 10 times over those, 2 or 3 days he was there. Sunday morning he starts driving, car died right on the Georgia southern border.
Jeez.
Yeah. So he had to get, so my guy, he went down there with the trailer. He picked it up. I called him Monday. He goes, he gotten in 6 hours down there and he brought it back. I said, so I told him, I said, look, keep my truck and we'll get it going. And then I'm going to keep it for a couple of months and make sure, everything's going on. And then if you want to keep my truck, I want a 250. I want a little bigger one. I'll trade that one in, and or my truck. My truck has, I think mine's a 15. It's got less miles than his had on. So, yeah, but anyway, but maintenance. And here was just a fluke thing. I mean, my son's a mechanic. So he read all the reports and the recalls. He talked to some Ford people up in Michigan, and he's telling these guys, he's like, that's never ever happened to that engine. It's like a fluke. It's like one of these asteroids that's up in the space that could hit us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he was kind of the rock in the hard place because but now that they towed the car back, I told the mechanic, I said, hey, look, I don't know what you want to do, but he really wants the V8 in there. If the engine's really screwed up, and you have to replace it, put the V8 in there, you
Yeah.
know? And so I told my son, I go, just hang out and we'll see what's going on. You're in a good position. You're in a much better position you were before because you've worked it out. But when you take something apart and then you put it all back together, there's from the original state it was in,
Yeah.
it's just not the same. And but the truck's paid off. He didn't want a payment,
Nice.
and you're kind of, and so I just said, but it was a maintenance thing, and he changes his own oil, he does his own spark plugs, all that stuff, because he's got all
Yeah.
the tools. And he's working on $30 million jets, but he was at Boeing for 3 years. He was working on 787s. Those were $350 million airplanes. So it's insane. And but I understand the maintenance thing. It is so important. It's not
Yeah.
even just fleets. It's your tools, your equipment, everything that you do on a job site, you should take care of it because if you take care of it, it'll last longer. And especially if you're using it every day, clean it. I'm all about the maintenance thing. You know,
Yeah.
and so let's talk about March 2020. Cranes everywhere. I don't care what city you went in. I always can tell about construction how many cranes are downtown. It's just one of those things. I don't care how big the city is, and everything goes kaput. Oh, it's gonna be a couple weeks, a couple more months. Here I'm 5 years later, I'm still talking about it. And how did you guys weather the storm? And any lessons that you learned that our listeners, just from a company operation, um, would find of interest, as we, head into Q4 and into 2026.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously being a company that serves industries in the trades where are operating cranes and are operating projects and job sites. And with a shutdown, all of your equipment goes down, your staff isn't available to do that. And so, fortunately, we've built just incredible relationships with our customers and worked with them to kind of weather that and make sure that they had what they need to continue to serve their customers, continue to run their operations and work together. But as you said, it's been 5 years. It's pretty incredible that it's been that long. It does seem both like yesterday and that times are definitely different. But I would say I made some notes before our for our chat started today, and I think ultimately this was just a major gut check. It's not that the construction industry hasn't always been resilient, but as you had said, when projects stalled and cost climb, and when things open back up, and that pressure really hasn't let up. Materials are more expensive, whether that's spillover from the shutdown or you're dealing with kind of the economic situation now with tariffs. Wages are obviously rising, and there's labor challenges, both with staffing, but rising cost and private projects are slowing while some of the infrastructure work has to carry the load. And so I think the lesson is that fleets never really stopped. If we talk about the trucking industry in particular, it's like 70% of all of the materials that are delivered by
Good by truck.
trucks.
Yeah.
It's the foundation of transportation and material movement in this industry. And so it's all connected. It's all one big ecosystem. But the reality is fleets never stopped working hard. Heavy equipment still needed to run. Downtime was really never an option, especially when most companies were needing to make sure that they could hang on to projects. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons is that this is just a really resilient industry that we work in. And you need to have partners that can help you weather those storms because this probably won't be the last time that there's, some situation where we have to build our resilience. So I would say that's one of the first things that I think stood out to us.
In the airline industry, when this whole thing went down in March, when all those planes were landed and they couldn't let them unattended for months or days. They won't fly. They just can't be left attended. But cars and trucks are a little different. You could go to the airport and park your car for 2 weeks and go on a vacation. You come back, it's going to turn right over. It could probably sit there for 20 years and turn over.
Hmm.
However, today with computers and everything else, that if you have X amount of vehicles in your fleet, you probably can't do that because first of all they're running, but then second of all there's going to be things that happen to them that they're whether something got dropped on it or this got bust, it just happens. I mean, if you're driving millions of miles or thousands of
Yeah,
miles a year, that you're ample to get something that goes, that's going to happen where you're going to need it, and they just couldn't sit there. But
yeah,
if you were on a project that was March Essential, those trucks were moving.
for
If you're a
sure.
supermarket, if you were in a healthcare facility, or depending on what state you were in, down here in the South, we were a little more relaxed. If you were up north, whole different ball game. So it really depended on what state you were in, what your regulations were, and I was just glad, like here in Georgia, we really didn't even shut down. There were three projects I watched get built. There was it was a fire department, it was an old folks home, and they were building a park too and watched them all go up. But I was checking out all the PPP and, I saw the stuff. And I stopped and talked to one of the superintendents one day. And it was it was interesting, but I totally understand the maintenance thing. And it's so important. I use that line every day, after my run. I'm like, your body will operate for you for the rest of your life as long as you give it the rest. Okay. It kicks tail for you every day. Treat, I always tell it's like your business. I tell people treat your business like a pet. If you feed it good stuff and good leads and all, it's going to have a great life. But if you don't take care of your business and don't feed it, you go to the mailbox, you don't have any checks in your mailbox and but if you maintain it and you keep an eye on things, it, you'll be that much ahead of your competition because a lot of
For
people
sure.
don't, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure over the years that your firm has gotten a contract where the other firm was, wasn't on the ball and said, hey, you didn't stay on top of their customer, and then they came over to you, and then you're like, hey, we got to put this in here, and oh wow, the other guys didn't. Yeah, that's why your trucks aren't running, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think we always say maintenance is an insurance policy, and it's like, the reality is we pay for insurance on our cars, but not everybody does, but it's there for you when you need it. And that's really what preventative maintenance in general is to help you to de-risk the life of that asset and the performance of that asset, right? Like your son having a fluke situation with that one engine, it's like, yeah, if you're doing the routine maintenance that you need to, you're in a higher likelihood that that vehicle is going to run and perform at the rate that you want. The reality is, though, in construction, the needs of those assets and the needs of the job site are a lot different. Those trucks, one, given the kind of nature of how they're built, and two, maybe the oil and the fluids that go into the filters, like they can take more wear and tear, but they might extend maintenance cycles because of the type of job, right? Maybe you get a shortened project timeline. And you're like, hey, I can't actually afford to down this. I can't afford to bring it back to the shop. We're going to run it. But as long as you have some insight into what's going on, I think for companies that one use Fleetio or a fleet management software as their kind of like main operating system for day to day and strategic decisions on how they assign assets and maintain and down and ultimately communicate between what's happening out on the job site and back with the shop. That is most essential because you're going to get information about the vehicle as quickly as you can so that you can make those downtime decisions. Or if you're not going to down the vehicle, at least you have a history of, well, Stephano said last week that during a routine inspection that it was making a noise. Well, now we have to down it because that same noise is there. Maybe this is a catastrophic failure. So, each industry is very unique, but maintenance is that insurance policy. And I think sometimes there's a bit of a fallacy, let's say, by saying if you ultimately invest in preventative maintenance, all of your costs are going to go down. Really, you're just shifting to smarter spending and you're shifting to the insurance policy that is getting more out of those assets. So that one, you can kind of meet your replacement cycles, but also you can set that vehicle or asset up for a sale. It's in a better
Mhm.
position for you to recoup some cost on it, especially with just the cost of assets right now. I know right now there are a ton of great deals on both new and used, but for the most part, vehicle, acquisition costs are only continuing to climb. So just fleets are either holding on to their assets longer, they can't sell them at the rate that they wanted to. So that's really the insurance policy that maintenance provides you is like you get to control the game board a little bit. You get to put in the time, you get to control downtime and ultimately build reliability, which is what the construction industry is built on.
Yeah, being in that in the fleet software side of things, do you see any trends as we finish up and then go into 2026 that you see coming down the pike? I mean, obviously, if interest rates come down, there's going to be some sales. I mean, it's obvious. How home sales, there's a home shortage. Something's got to give. There's occupancy in all the cities are down. Someone's got to figure out how to fill that stuff. So construction, being in construction, it's going to boom. It's
Mhm.
booming now. We just need more project managers and superintendents and my son went the skilled labor route. He didn't go to college,
Yeah.
so being an HVAC tech or electrician, a plumber, it doesn't matter. We need all of those people. But when the interest rates come down, I'm sure you'll get busier because people are going to buy some vehicles. They're going to trade some of that stuff in. They're going to be able to sell it, and it's just, it's natural. But what trends do you see? We have a couple months left 3 months left, basically, and a couple days. And then, next year, what do you see come down the pike or that you hear that you're like, oh, that's cool. That.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been at Fleetio for, we've been around since 2012 and have really been kind of a first to market leader around mobile software. So the reality is the customers that we serve work in mobile operations and businesses. So being able to connect remotely with your team across different states, across different job sites, has been essential for us since day one. But that only is going to become more important, as you said, as maybe rates come down and projects open back up and the scale. I think that's really what's going to test everybody's resilience a little bit. And so it's, at least from a software trend, we see a lot around data and analytics. So what more can I do with my data? What type of insights can you provide us around right sizing or life cycle management or replacement cycles? When it comes to the maintenance trends in particular, what vehicle data do I have at my fingertips to help me make decisions? Can I get ahead of catastrophic events? Can I get potentially ahead of situations that your son ran into where even if it's a fluke, the data is kind of telling you a little bit about I forget exactly um, what the challenge was that he had on the engine in
Yeah, it
particular,
was
but
a, it
like
was a, it was a, it was a it was called a cam phaser, and it
can
basically
phaser.
worked with the timing on the end. Listen, I might be getting into the weeds here, but basically your car has a timing belt. Okay, it's got an engine, it's got a belt, and the engine when it fires off the spark plug, it's all in rhythm. If it doesn't get in rhythm, your engine will run rough. Putting it in plain English, and that's what this little piece did. But to get to it, you got to rip the freaking whole engine out. You got to take apart. It's right in the freaking middle, you know.
Yeah.
And and then when they picked the truck up, he called me and he goes, "Yeah, Dave, there's a bolt in there. It's like right in the center of the engine. It turns it, and they're supposed to replace it. And I'm not sure if we did that." So I got to go in there and rip that out. But I replaced the water pump. Anything that I thought that was going to break, we replaced it. So because I go, the only thing that can go on that truck, I told my son, the only thing that can go is the transmission. You got a freaking brand new engine, basically.
Yeah,
But he said, yeah, there's a little bolt in there. I'm not sure if they replaced it. So I'm going to go in there and do it myself. If they didn't, I'm going to get it running. And I just say, yeah, whatever. And uh, uh, you know, technology is amazing, and your phone it's attached to you all day. So if you can manage a fleet, and all that and have it at your fingertips, that's a plus in my book, you know, and it's an asset line on your budget. So
for sure.
if someone was out there in commercial construction coffee talk land and they've got a fleet, or maybe they're thinking about buying a new fleet and they never had a maintenance program, or or whatever it might be, and they wanted to bounce some questions off you, uh, talk Birmingham Stallions football or whatever the USFL team is down there, I
It's the
forget.
Stallions.
Stallions, yeah, I got it right. Uh, how would someone reach out to you?
Yeah, personally, I think you can connect with me on LinkedIn. But if you go to Fleetio, FLEETIO.com, you could take a look at our website, take a look at our kind of product suite. You can also get in touch with our sales team if you wanted to schedule a demo to get more of like an in-depth product walkthrough. And I would say if you're looking to improve your maintenance program, if you're looking to consolidate, have just a central kind of working system to manage all of your assets, plan your maintenance, handle your service, track all of your records, report on your fleet, we're here to help and really support your scale, which we know is most important. So yeah, you can get in touch with us at fleetio.com and we'd be more than happy to schedule some time to learn about your business and see how we can help you.
So I'm going to put Stefano's info and LinkedIn and so forth in there in the description. And also, I'll put a couple of headings in there when I edit the video, and reach out to him or his team and see what answers that they can answer for any of your questions. But I'm going to tell you, if you're a contractor out there and you got fleet, or if you're a retailer brand or a hotel and you've got, a couple of Sprinter vans or whatever it might be, I'm telling you, if you don't have a plan, it's an insurance policy. I'll tell you what was last talking about, maintenance. It's an insurance thing. I had AAA for 25 years, something like that, maybe 30. I don't know. I'm 62. I'll give my age away. So my son, when he got stuck last Sunday, calls me. He's like, Dad, call. I said, he goes, I'll just call AAA. I'm like, Brode. His name is Brody. Calling the Broadster. I'm like, Brode, remember last year when you told me that was a waste of money? I didn't renew your card because the last time you tried to use AAA for one of your cars you were flipping, uh, they it took them forever to get a flatbed over or whatever, and you said it was a waste of money. So I didn't get you. We didn't renew them this year, And he's like, "Oh my God!" I said, "I told you." When you need it, you got to have it. It's just one of those things. And there was the perfect example, going back to the Fleetio thing, that uh, if you got a maintenance program together, doesn't matter if it's just trucks. I'm talking about, tools, all that stuff. You take care of it. Make sure, that they're clean. They'll just last longer. You'll get a better lifetime. And like I said, my kid's a mechanic. That's he's his job security is there because everything is built. It's got to be maintained, and especially old stuff. Old stuff wasn't built to break. Today, things are built and everything's computerized. They give you stick the coder in, you find out what the serial numbers you can figure out, and then you go to YouTube and find out really what it is. And then when he showed me, I'm like, oh man, this is way over my pay grade. But it's not sounding good, and it's not good because it's the timing. It's the timing of the engine. It's an unbelievable little piece that runs it. So, listen, if someone wants to reach me, I'm at davidc@ccr-mag.com. And listen, Stefano got on here. You know how his publicist sent me a press release, and then he reached out, and I said, "Oh yeah, we should talk about the podcast. Hey, we'll find a time. This and that. Boom, here he is." And anyway, I look at everything. Don't judge a book by its cover. Very tough to get in the magazine. However, we got all these different platforms, and you send it to us, 24 to 48 hours TAT turnaround time. And if you have an anniversary, it could be a personnel announcement, it could be a charity golf tournament you're doing. We look at everything. Send it to me. We are data addicted. We love content. We make sure it's Google indexed, meta tagged, all that stuff. We send it, you share it. It's a win-win. It helps your SEO, which your search engine optimization. That's how Google finds you, the behemoth. And it's a win-win. So send it to us. It's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me something, I can't look. I can't post it for you. So, but David C, CCR-mag.com, and we'll take a look at it. So as we finish up, if there was one positive thought or phrase you'd like to leave for our listeners out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk, what would it be?
Is it cool if I give like a personal kind of quote and then
You go
maybe
with
like
any
a
way you want.
business? I'd say from the business perspective, especially when you think about your operating ratios, I would say profitability isn't about cutting corners. It's about getting clarity on where the money is going. So when you know where that money is going, whether it's labor, it's materials, or the fleet that keeps everything moving, you could protect your margins, you could take care of your crew, and you can keep projects on schedule. And especially in today's market, like we talked about, Dave, like that's what separates the companies that thrive from the ones that might be struggling a little bit. So
Hmm.
I'd say there. And then a quote that I just always have in the back of my mind is a Bruce Lee quote where he says,
Ooh.
"I fear the person who has I fear not the person who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the person who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." And I think it's just like the same thing with preventative maintenance. It's like put in the work and it will pay off, and really focus on quality and service. And that's something that we instill with our kids, even though they're 4 and 2. It's like, hey, when you commit to something, do the best that you can, be focused. And I think that both crosses into like life lesson and what you can do to help maintain your fleet more efficiently.
I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, so I totally am totally into Mr. Lee, and what an amazing individual. And I was watching a video on YouTube the other day where he was doing these like one armed like two finger push-ups, and he had his hand. I mean, I had to watch it again because and this is before AI, you
Yeah.
know, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, when I took my black belt test, I did 88 push-ups in a minute, and
Wow.
and they're down. They're they're testing you. No halvesies. Okay, 100% down and up, and but when I saw and we still the knuckle push and all that, but when I saw him do one armed, was hand behind, and he's doing two fingers, I was like, oh my God, that is amazing. I miss that guy. So
It, I would, yeah, it's something that's resonated with me, and I would say the modern in my world, Alex Honnold, he's a rock climber. He's the one that's famous for the Free Solo documentary where he climbed El Cap, which is in
oh
Yosemite
yeah,
without a rope.
yeah,
I
without a
mean, just
rope,
just the level of strength that mental and physical strength that goes into it
ice cold
is
veins to do that kind of stuff.
for sure.
You
And
know.
yeah,
Oh man. Yeah. Well, a couple things to our listeners out there. Uh, Number one, if you're on a construction site, we want you to be safe. We want you to get home, be able to have dinner with your kids, your spouse, your pet, whatever. Watch some tube, laugh, get some REM sleep. Go do it again the following day. Number two, summer's over, it's fall. But listen, I got a little plan on me here. Uh, Drink water. All right. I had a guy yesterday, a coach, and he said, "Look, to make sure if you're going to put electrolytes in your bottle, in your water bottle, or whatever you're drinking out of, make sure that it doesn't have a lot of sugar in there or whatever, because it's just going to flush you all out. And but you got to keep your body liquefied." He did agree with me on that. So stay liquefied. Make sure you're drinking water. If you got the electrolytes, even if they have sugar, I'm going to tell you to put them in there. They help you, but just check what the ingredients are. But if you stay liquefied, this is the athlete in me. If you dehydrate, you make a lousy path. You miss the net. You just don't play as good as when you're liquefied. The same thing is on the construction site. If you stay liquefied, You know what? You won't get bang your thumb and have to get some stitches or whatever. You'll finish the day off better. You'll have a better night, and then you're gonna have better sleep, and you're gonna have a much better day the following day. So this little bottle of water, drink about 8 of these things a day, and you'll keep yourself healthy. Last but not least, hit the button, subscribe. We want to make sure that these algorithms on YouTube get out there and they can hear Mr. Stephano's story. A damn Yankee living in the South from New Jersey. Yeah, I'm from Philly. I'm your cousin right across the border. So uh, Stephano, any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
I mean, really appreciate just being on the podcast. I know you've had some incredible leaders and industry being kind of experts, and so just yeah, glad to be a part of the mix now.
You know what the funny thing about this podcast was? I had in March 2020, I just went out and bought my mic, and I was going to do these interviews on the construction site. That's what, because I was still traveling. I was going, I've walked probably 20, 30 shows a year, and I'm looking at stuff, and I was like, oh, I'll just do them on the construction site. They'll all, call my buds and we'll do these things. And then everything went kaput. So I just went out and I never had done one. I swear, I laugh at myself. I laugh at myself. I look at some of my old videos. I'm like, oh, I was awful. It's just awful in the beginning, but I've had some pretty cool people. I'll tell you, learn so much from people that I talk to on these podcasts. And I've had all sorts of people on there, but the people that are positive, they don't get down, they keep moving forward. And I like talking to athletes too, or people that have played sports or have kids that are in sports because they understand about winning and losing. They got thick skin. And when you get out in the real world, man, it's brutal out there. It's vicious. It's competition. If you can't handle it, and if you think you're running your truck hard, oh my God, business is just as bad. It's competitive, man. It's
Yeah,
hard. So, but anyway, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. If I get out to Birmingham, man, we'll go grab some grub and we'll go do something, man. Or
for sure.
maybe take me. Do you have maintenance shop around, or do you just contract that out?
So yeah, we contract that out. Don't
Yeah.
don't have a bay
Well,
in
if
my
there's a
garage
local
by any
Birmingham
means.
one that's working on a truck, man, I like looking at all that stuff. We'll go
Oh
look at.
yeah, for sure.
All right. So,
Yep, we can find one in the area and we'll get you tuned up.
all right, cool.
All
Give
right.
it a ride. Here it come, 20 West. So, Stefano, say goodbye from Birmingham.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks everybody for listening. And if you're in the Birmingham area, give us a ring.
All right, I'm going to sign off here from Lake Lanier, about 35, 40 miles north of downtown ATL. And listen, everybody have a great rest of your TGIF. This is TGIF number 39. There's 13 left, and 2025 is over. And like I said, you got Halloween coming up, Q4. I mean, I can't believe it's already the last quarter of the year. I just thought it was January 1st yesterday, but time flies when you're having fun. So listen, have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy the weekend. Hey, if your football team's playing, I gotta say it, go Dogs against Bama. I just want to see a close game, and I don't want to see blowouts. I just want to go down and let it go into overtime. I get some extra football. But everybody in the state of Georgia tomorrow is going to be glued to their team. And listen, you techies, I pull for Tech too. They're undefeated as well. So not Georgia State, but I pull for them as well. All the Georgia teams, as a damn Yankee, I root for all of them. Okay. So, but have a great weekend and leave it all out there because Monday's waiting for you and you got to do it all over again. Bigger, better, faster, more efficient, and all that stuff, just like Fleetio does with all of their trucks that they're working on. So, Stefano, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Hey, everybody, we will see you next time. Cheers.
See ya.